Hello everyone, this is Luke with Grow to Save. Today is March 26, 2020, and I just wanted to put this message out there to address the importance of growing your own food during this pandemic that's going around. If you're not aware already, there are some breakdowns in the food supply chain, including even today I just saw some news where some of the people who are considered emergency workers that are working in food production and distribution are actually walking off the job in order to self quarantine. So there's already, if you haven't known already, last year the United States put out less than, I think it was less than half of what we were normally able to put out due to weather conditions and field conditions. This year they're expecting it to be even worse. A lot of this is due to the grand solar minimum. I don't cover this type of news on this channel, and I don't have a whole lot of recent videos out here. I'm going to start putting some out in order to get the message out and help people understand how to grow certain things that are nutrient dense during this time. Right now, being early spring, is one of the best times to get something like this going. And if you can decrease the burden yourself on the food supply chain by growing some of your own food, that would be a huge help to our system and help other people who can't do that. If you have a backyard, even to the point of potentially cutting up part of your grass that's nothing, not going to be able to feed you, of course, and maybe planting something like potatoes or some other things that can feed you. There's also ways that I will share. Well, I don't even need to share them. The thing is there's so much information out there online on how to grow nutrient dense foods, how to grow like a survival garden, that you can easily search. You don't have to just find the news from my channel. I encourage you to look around. If you want to find information on what's going on with the food supply chain, there is a channel named Ice Age Farmer that I highly recommend you look into. Guy Christian over there does a great job of covering this news, and I'll leave a link in the description to his channel. But it is very important that we're able to help reduce the burden of the food supply chain in this country going forward throughout the season. And it's going to be something that, if you can produce something that your family can eat, if it does come down to an emergency situation, you have maybe potatoes, other types of survival type foods. Some good ones are obviously potatoes, as I've mentioned, squashes, beans, other nutrient dense type foods like kale, things that you can. And kale is something, a lot of lettuces are this way, where you can cut them and continue to come back to them. It's not like you harvest the whole plant at once. And you can dry them out, make kale chips and stuff like that, and preserve a lot of these foods fairly easily. So I hope that everyone will take this situation very seriously. Right now, it's early in spring. It's a good time to get things going if you don't have it going already. There's easy ways to duplicate things too, like certain plants like tomatoes. You can very, very easily duplicate those over and over and over off of one plant, and potentially grow a whole lot of food. In fact, I did that last year, and I'll try to put up some videos of how I did that. You just basically take the suckers off and put them in the ground, and they'll start growing on their own, essentially. So I just want to encourage once again to just do what you can. Even if you live in an apartment, you don't really have a place to grow stuff, there's also ways that you can do some certain growing indoors with vertical farms, or like a small vertical system, maybe even something that doesn't even use soil, including something like an aquaponic system. And those can be created very cheaply up to fairly expensively, and grow a lot of stuff in a very small area with a system like that. And there's lots of other systems to look into, including growing with for like in my garden, I use self-watering buckets. Buckets can be moved if you screw up and don't plant something in the right where it's getting enough sunshine. You can easily move a bucket or a just a container. And I rent, and fortunately for my neighbor and I, our landlord was cool with us using this area along the fence line, which was actually, there was nothing even growing there, not even grass. So we kind of did it up last year, and this year we're going to definitely grow a lot more survival type foods in order to once again help reduce our burden on the food system and help to provide some for our own selves and our families. She and I both have kids, and obviously we need to think about feeding them too. So I would encourage you to grow a variety of things if you possibly can, because you'll get sick of eating the same thing over and over very fast. I hope that this message finds you well. I hope that you are blessed and that your families are blessed in this time of, just dire straits, and that you will, take advantage of your downtime right now to do things that will provide for your family. One other thing I want to mention is definitely consider, if you don't already have one, creating a last will and testament, because of so many people dying from this coronavirus all over the place. Our probate courts will definitely be burdened once the time comes for everything to kind of start settling back in. And if you have that in place, you can definitely help to avoid that for your family, to have to deal with these issues after you pass away. And it's just a good idea all around, especially if you have the downtime right now, to go ahead and create one and put it in place, or even update one that you already have. Okay, folks, so one more point that I wanted to make that I did not make while I was out in where my garden will be this year is to think about your neighbor and consider your neighbor aside from just your family. Make this more of a community effort. Obviously, we're supposed to be practicing social distancing right now and everything, but that doesn't mean you can't pick up your phone or go on Facebook or whatever and talk with your community about, maybe mention that you're going to be starting to grow stuff, encourage, people in your neighborhood, in your local vicinity to do the same. And try to maybe if other people are willing to go in on this with you, if you were able to focus on maybe a certain crop or a certain few crops, maybe they could plant other things that maybe complement that, and you guys just trade back and forth between each other. So that way you're not trying to worry about producing everything for yourself. And of course, grow as much as you possibly can. I've mentioned before on this channel, you always want to try to grow extra because you never know what kind of pests or other problems you may have to even just get your own regular harvest. And now at this time where we're trying to grow as much as we possibly can to take stress off of the food system, you really should be trying to grow as much as possible. So definitely consider companion planting within your garden as well. If you're planting in the ground, like say if you're planting tomatoes, you can plant a lot of other smaller crops that go next to them. Research, learn what those types of companion planting options are and what those types of varieties of companion planting will be, as far as what works well with what. You don't want to put two nitrogen consuming plants in the same area, or you're really going to have problems, and you're going to constantly have to fertilize in order to get anything out. So if you can really plan this out, do your own research. Once again, I don't have a whole lot of videos on this channel or a whole lot of information. This is not my full-time gig. So, but there are a whole lot of other people out there on YouTube and just in the gardening community in general, on different blogs and whatnot, that you can get a lot of great tips and research from. I highly encourage you to go check them out and do what you can to learn what you can in order to get something going as quick as possible. Right now is the time to take advantage of it. We're talking late March, early April. This is prime time planting season, especially if you're in a northern climate like I am in Michigan, or just now starting to get out of the freezing temperatures. If you're down south in like Florida, I know they've been growing for months already, and that's great. And especially something else I wanted to add, if you live kind of in the country and are able to grow, and maybe say you have like an acre or two of land that normally all you're doing is mowing it every week or every 2 weeks during the summertime. Plow that crap up and grow something there, man. Grow something for people that's close to you in the city or wherever. Things that you could do that either you can store up and give to other people who are in need. Because here's the real kicker about all this, guys. History has shown that when food systems collapse within civilizations and societies, things get ugly very, very fast. So please, please, please take this warning as something serious that really is you should be taking care of, doing your part to take care of it. Everybody needs to play their part. If you physically cannot go out and grow your own food, hopefully you can share this video or something like this information with someone who does have the ability to do that and who can share with you, who's willing to do that. Once again, try to make this a community effort. That would be the very best thing, because then people are watching out for each other, and you don't have to worry about people trying to sneak in and steal your food because they didn't do anything, and all of a sudden crap's going down and it's hitting the fan, and now you have to be an armed guard watching your garden. That's not a good scenario either. Try to be communal with your neighbors. Be neighborly, be friendly. This is how things used to operate. all the time. We've gotten so comfortable in our modern society that we can just go to the grocery store and buy whatever we need, and we don't have to worry about our neighbor. But that's not going to be the case going forward, I'm afraid. I might be wrong, and hopefully I am. But if I'm right, we're going to have a lot to deal with. So please just take this serious, take it into consideration, and please share this video if you thought it was important.